Again, thank you all for coming out, and it's cooler in here than it is out there, so we've got one plus one. And we'd like to submit that our minutes for last month have been brought together, and just let the record know that we have last month's minutes, and I believe Tim has additional minutes, correct?
Not for last month. I don't have any.
No, we
additional
have
minutes.
last month, so it was the month before. Anyway, we're.
I have some minutes, but as long as we're talking about minutes, I believe EJ has a request specifically for April minutes.
It's actually not my request, it's the same request that Nita's asking for, are the April minutes. And so I've been trying to find the video. It's uploading for some reason. I'm not sure if it was sound or what, but I'm trying to get that uploaded to YouTube. Sam's trying to help me with that, so that way maybe we can transcribe them. Or B, I know she's asked for those specific minutes, so I just directed her to you all for those minutes. I know that there was May, because I was able to submit the.
We do have April. Kate took minutes that night, so we'll
Okay.
have to, I'll get in touch with her.
Yeah, the picture of it is fine as long as it's legible or whatever. It doesn't have to be typed is what she stated. But I mean, you want to type them, that's even better. But your call, your choice, your prerogative.
And Linda Alexander, let the record be told, is going to be our record keeper, so we're really glad to have her do that.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you, Linda.
Yes.
Don't we need a motion and a second and a
For
vote
the,
to approve the minutes?
yes. So at this time, we'll, I'll present the motion that will accept the minutes of May 18th, I believe. And second,
I second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining because I was not on the board.
That's acceptable.
Yep. Okay, so as we're kind of getting into our agenda, the first on the order is the Upper Lake levee system update. Status of vegetation, modification for the fire season, and status of the workshop budget.
Great, I've got great information. But first, Supervisor Campbell, is Tim and Aaron joining us today?
Yes, I see Jim's on. He is muted and his camera's off right now, but he should be, he's right there. He has a share screen going up and everything like that, so.
Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and give an update, and then I'm going to turn it over. Hi, Jim, to those folks. Jim is from the NCRS.
I'm sorry, before you start, what is that sound that is beeping? Do we know what that is?
It's very irritating.
It is.
Yeah, you should do non-agenda item announcement.
Okay.
It sounds like it's coming from around here somewhere. Is anyone's phone alarm on? No? Oh, there we go. Oh. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. So I've kind of been according to the bylaws of the town hall, one person, either a citizen or is it a council, advisory council member can head a project. So I am heading the levee project. And the levee project is the levee, which is a bypass of some creeks and taking the water that used to flood downtown and moving it in a levee system to all the way to Clear Lake. And the maintenance has been deferred for a while, and there's some damage to it. So to bring everybody up to speed from our last meeting, I actually reached out to Fish and Wildlife because I work with them on a daily basis in my own business. And I learned that there is an issued LSA agreement number 1600 2021 0012-R2 It was not included in the documentation in the public information request because it hadn't been issued yet. This is data stick for all of the levy information from the history of the levy that the county has given to us. So I'm turning it over to the record keeper of the town council for this council's records. I also put in a public information request back for the LSA agreement because that's the only way we're going to get a copy of it. The LSA agreement is through Fish and Wildlife. You can't do any kind of work on any kind of waterway without an LSA agreement, whether it's diversion of water, repair of erosion, removing vegetation, anything like that. You have to get a permit from Fish and Wildlife, and that's what this LSA is. So we don't have all the information of what's in it, but I do have some colleagues from Fish and Wildlife that could tell me there are 3 items or 3 projects in it. Vegetation removal, about 50 linear feet of riprap, which is the collapse of the channel over there, I assume. It's a little longer than 50 feet. And there was one other thing that I don't remember, and I apologize for that. But what's not included in there is gravel extraction, which really needs to be done for the levee. So we'll talk about that probably after I bring you up to speed on other things. I also had a meeting with NCRS. NCRS is a federally funded organization, and I don't know if you have the information that I hoped could be up on the slide. But both Jim and Aaron have been kind enough to join us this evening to inform the public on what they do. They offer grant funding for flood prevention, which is what this levy would fall under, and they will cover 100% of it. They need a sponsor, and the sponsor has to have 3 things that qualifies them as a sponsor. One is that they can assess or tax. The other one is that they have eminent domain, and they have the financial wherewithal. Jim, did I miss one?
No, that covered it.
Thank you. So the county, Marina from Water Resources has stepped up to the plate and said the county qualifies, we'd be interested in sponsoring it. I kind of put up a cautionary red flag and said, okay, well, part of the reason we have deferred maintenance on this levee is because there's not enough staff. How will we have enough staff to run this project? And I kind of supported the tribe partnering with the county and taking this project on as sponsor. I was not privy to the meeting, but there was a meeting between the tribe and possibly Scott De Leon and or Marina and EJ. Maybe EJ can give us a little synopsis of the result of that. But we're moving forward, I think, is probably the most important thing to say. Since I've met with NCRS and since I've met with Fish and Wildlife, 2 more projects have come to light on the levee. And I emailed them to the town council today, calling Project 2 and Project 3, with some photographs. And it's important that we incorporate that into what we're doing moving forward. And with that, I would love to introduce you to some very fabulous people who are very willing to help us and can provide the funds to do so from NCRS. The National, I'm going to let Jim tell you what that acronym stands for. Jim is the head engineer of all of this region, and he'll be in charge of this project. And the local NCRS staff member is Erin, and I believe she's here also. If not, Jim is. And she will also be coordinating with us. But this is a big project. Any agency you speak to says this is a big project. So we're probably going to be seeing people that are heading up organizations helping us, which is very beneficial for all of us, obviously. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to some really fabulous people who really want to help us and are very knowledgeable and have the wherewithal to fix what you all are terribly concerned about. So Jim, I'll let you introduce yourself and Aaron and take it away.
Yes, thanks. So, yes, I am Jim Reinstrout, and minor correction, it's actually NRCS, which stands for the Natural Resources Conservation Service. That is an agency, a federal agency, part of the U.S. Department of Agriculture, so part of the USDA. And as was stated, I am my title is Area Engineer. And what that means is I have oversight on all of NRCS's engineering work in the 18 counties that make up Northern California. That includes Lake County. One of the duties of the area engineer is to kind of be the lead point of contact for our watershed protection and flood prevention operations program. If I share my screen, will people be able to see that on the projector?
Great.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And of course, changes my screen here on my computer, but hopefully folks can see this. This is a brochure that we hand out to help you with this program of the USDA that the NRCS oversees. And so the name of the program is the Watershed Protection and Flood Prevention Operations Program. And so we are the federal government, so of course that's an acronym, so we call this the WRTH program. And one of the types of projects that the WRTH program can help with is flood prevention. I do want to make one clarification to the previous statement there, and I'll go ahead and zoom in on this so that it's a little bit easier to see. Bear with me a moment. So this can be a little bit misleading. So I want to add a caveat here on the level of funding that's available. Right in our brochure, we say to folks that we cover 100% of the engineering costs and technical assistance for flood prevention projects. And that we also cover 100% of the installation and construction, and then 0% of any kind of easement or land acquisition that might be necessary. A very important stipulation is this is 100% of the funds that are eligible for reimbursement under the program. There will be costs, there are always costs associated with these types of projects that are not eligible for reimbursement, and those costs need to be paid for by the sponsor, or whichever, by the sponsor, some way, somehow. So that being said, we can move into talking about, in a little bit more detail about the sponsor. As was mentioned, the sponsor needs to be I'm going to use the word quasi-governmental agency. It can be a state or local government, it can be a tribal entity. The important thing is that that sponsor must have the ability to collect fees, either raise taxes or collect fees. They have some sort of financial income that can be used to help cover some of the costs or even deal with the cash flow issue. This is a reimbursement program, not a program that pays for things up front. It's a program that provides reimbursement for approved invoices. The other very important thing is that that sponsor must have power of eminent domain, and even if it is just a last resort, it must have the willingness to use it if necessary in order to implement the preferred alternative. The other thing that's very important for the sponsor is they have to have some staff. They have to have staff that are able to manage a project, more than likely hire consultants, hire engineers, consulting engineers to put together the plans and reports that are necessary in order to carry a project like this through to completion. And then they also, oftentimes these types of projects get constructed through the public bid process. So the most common sponsor for this program is a county department of public works, or perhaps a city. And the reason for that is the entity that is familiar with these kinds of projects and what it takes to bring them to completion in order to get all the environmental documentation completed, obtain all the permits, get the final plans and documents completed so that it can go out to bid, award contracts to contractors, and then oversee the work of the contract through completion and payment of the contract. The other requirement would be to keep track of all those invoices and everything and fill out all the forms that NRCS requires in order to provide the reimbursement for the program. So in a nutshell, what we're saying here is that NRCS really provides reimbursement for eligible expenses, but not a lot of actual engineering work, certainly no construction work on the ground. So with that, I think I might just open it up to any questions.
Do any of you have any questions?
Did I hear you say that there is a 1,600 permit under, already applied for?
We already have it, it's been issued.
Or has been issued?
Yes, I just don't have a copy of it. I have the number,
Uh,
but it doesn't include gravel extraction.
Does not, does it include vegetation?
It does.
Yes, so any and all required permits, local, state, federal, any permits that are required to do the project, it is the responsibility of the sponsor to obtain those permits.
Thank you, Jim. And anyone?
Okay, so with that said, then I'll talk about the next steps in the program, and I'll begin by sort of summarizing normally our WFPO program is a 4-step process. And the first step in that process is the preparation of what we call a preliminary investigation and feasibility report. And this is just a report that looks at the watershed, identifies the problems and concerns, identifies alternatives to address those problems or concerns, and then identifies what the environmental issues might be, who the stakeholders are, if there's any easement or land acquisition issues, and then also provide a very rough, very preliminary ballpark cost estimate for the various alternatives. And so that's step one. That's called the preliminary investigation feasibility report, another acronym, so PIFR, we call it PIFR. That step can be skipped if the sponsor already has a pretty well-developed preferred alternative and preliminary plan. If that's the case, step one can be skipped, and we can go directly to step two. So step two is planning, that's what we call planning. And it's what it sounds like. It's selecting the preferred alternative, doing what we oftentimes call like 30% complete design plans for that alternative, but more importantly, completing the environmental document, both the NEPA and the CEQA, that's the federal and the state environmental documents that are required for projects, unless we could place it under some sort of categorically exempt status. I don't know enough about the project at this point to offer an opinion on that, but that's the second step, so that's planning. The third step is final design and final permitting. So completing the final design, the bid documents, and having the project, the design complete, 100% plan specs, public bid documents, everything that's necessary in order to go to construction. And then the fourth step is construction. So those are the 4 steps that are normally completed to get through one of these WFPO projects. And the first step in getting this process started is for the sponsor to officially request assistance from NRCS. And that goes to Carlos Suarez. He is our state conservationist. He's the head of all of the NRCS projects and programs in the state of California. So there's a template letter that we can help the sponsor write on the sponsor's letterhead, and then present that to, you can just give it to me or Aaron, we can get it to Carlos Suarez, but that is the official first step to getting the process started. That prompts NRCS to respond to that request for assistance and see if funding is available from the NRCS program for that assistance. At this point, NRCS has a pretty good budget for WFPO programs. So if it's eligible and meets the requirements, it's likely to get funding.
Thank you, Jim. And just some points, we need your name, sir, that asked the question.
I'm John Lagueto.
Can you spell your last
It's
name?
L-A, capital B-O-Y-T-E-A-U-X.
Thank you, sir.
I own the property that is at the very top of the historic channel. The flood control channel, the diversion structure, and the historic channel are all on my property.
Great. And there was one other hand that was raised that had a question. Could you please state your name before you ask your question for the minutes?
Lynn Orstano. I live at 4088 Manzanita Drive in East. What is this, $1 billion? I mean, there's so many problems in my neighborhood that need to be fixed.
Lynn, we're just working on this right now. in case you
Yeah,
didn't
but we're
understand.
competing for money, aren't we, to
No.
get things done around here?
No, not right now.
Because I like to get things fixed in my neighborhood too,
Good, I know that.
and nothing gets fixed. So if we're gonna take money away from me getting something fixed in my neighborhood, I don't think that's fair.
No, that's a separate issue, Lynn. No,
This
Well, I don't think
this has nothing to do with whatever's happening in your neighborhood. All this has to do with is the Upper Lake Levee Flood Prevention Program, nothing more.
Yeah, but they're all competing for money to
Not
get
this
things
money,
fixed.
not this money.
Well, where's
So
this
we're
money
gonna,
coming from? Gavin Newsom? Is Gavin
No,
Newsom
this is
paying for this?
specific money.
it's from the
Lynn.
federal government.
The
Through the-
Washington DC is
Yes.
paying for this?
Yes, Department of Agriculture, yes.
Okay, I hope so. Biden pays the bill.
So moving on, is there, yes, sir, can you state your name for the minutes?
How far, my name is Kevin from Lucerne, how far, when you do your cleanup, how far are you gonna take it towards Robin's Loop? I know you're gonna clean the ledges this way, how far are you going that way?
That's gonna be determined in meetings with the engineers, with the funding, with water resources, whoever the sponsor is. I mean, we haven't gotten that far yet.
Does it need to clean that way too?
It sure
And
does.
does it need to go all the way under the bridge and into Robin's Loop?
I think you're absolutely right.
Julia, can you kind of, I think, start from the beginning to where we are now, so everybody has an understanding of that.
Sure. So I thought I did a little bit, I'm sorry if I missed. But how this all came about is I walk daily almost on the levee, and I have a master's in science, and I run an environmental compliance company in 5 counties. And I was very concerned about what was happening, and then when the state put out the flyer to everyone that said, you know, you better get flood insurance, I'm like, I've never seen a letter like that from the State Water Resources Control Board, and working with them for 15 years, I know that means something bad. So I started doing some inquiring and then, you know, brought forward the condition of the levee to this group back in, I believe, December, November, or something. And then this group, the town hall group.
January.
Thank you, January. Thank you, Tim. Wrote a letter to the Board of Supervisors requesting that the county restore the levee to its original condition. And that's how we're moving forward to today. And I have to say, we're moving forward pretty quickly. I plan on being successful. I'm the one that's kind of taken on this project. I don't like to do anything unless it's successful, and I don't like to miss anything. So there's a lot of things happening, and you're gonna see more information coming forward at each meeting with how far it's gonna go. I just got the question from Fish and Wildlife, how many linear miles? We don't have that answer yet. We've got it on the map that I provided to EJ about how many miles the whole levee is, but no one's looked at it in that capacity yet. They will be. I mean, there's more meetings coming. There's meetings scheduled with Fish and Wildlife, there's meetings scheduled with Jim, and EJ, maybe you can speak a little more to this. And I don't know what you can or can't give us as an update with your meeting with the tribe in regards to this, but it most likely would be helpful. And then my other comment is the community is reaching out to me on a regular basis about this levee, and I'm learning a lot of information about people writing letters with no response about their concerns. But really, I think probably the most pressing issue for the community right now is why isn't the gate open like it opens every spring to stop water flowing in the levee and bring it down Mill Creek? I assume it's because Mill Creek doesn't have the capacity like it used to. But why isn't that happening so that the local wells can still have recharge? I've been asked that by 7 people now. So you may not have an answer tonight, but it would be good to get that answer.
You have a question?
No, I have an answer. One gate's open, fully open. The other gate is damaged and it's closed. I've conducted a kind of a campaign all the time I've lived out there to maintain as close as possible to a natural flow in the historic channel. So the only thing that's not happening is that historically, there was a time in the spring when flow in the flood control channel was stopped and all water would go down the historic channel. That doesn't happen anymore. So what's happening with the diversion is the water's dividing. And I don't know if it's actually reaching Middle Creek now or not. It is still coming, still got a pretty good flow in the historic channel. The historic channel is a little steeper, so it goes down there faster. But, I mean, when things get low at the end of the summer, I'll be raising my hand with the county public works, let's get that other gate fixed. So it was damaged by the county years ago.
Did you hear all of that, EJ?
I can't really hear anything when it comes to anybody out in the public. I can hear you all because the microphone is near you. I cannot hear their questions, and I'm actually confused because you've asked a myriad of questions that I don't know which one starts with. So I don't know which one. So like, let's start with one. You said, what did the gentleman say? If someone can repeat it for me.
Sure. He lives right at the branch where the historic channel and the new levee channel meet, and he answered the question about why the floodgates aren't closed. He said one of them is damaged and broken and doesn't function.
Well, I think too, the water resources, when they were here a couple months back, were going to answer that, but you all stopped them. So I mean, that he is inaccurate in that. So thank you for answering that. So what's his name? Because I think he might have been one of the gentlemen that's emailing me about the situation.
Yeah, EJ, Supervisor Kendall. Yes, I'm John Lavoito. We've talked a couple of times. Thank you. And I did tell the...
What's his name?
John LaGuardia.
Yeah, that's the person. He emailed me. We talked about it.
So, and that was the question. And so it sounds like maybe we could get some kind of letter written by the council. I'm going to put it out to the council members asking about this question because it's coming up a lot when people contact me. And I don't have the answer. And I think that we get more...
So the workshop might have helped that we were planning to have Monday as well, but for whatever reason you wanted to push it back. That would have been a good time to have that discussion. We can still have it even near future. So if we can make sure that way some of this can all be answered by water resources when it comes to that, all together and just this topic, because it seems, you know, these things need to be dealt with, so.
That sounds like a good idea if the community and the council want to do that. The reason there's no workshop, as we discussed before, Supervisor Campbell, is because we didn't have any numbers to call anyone to have them come.
Oh, no, actually, we sent she sent the invite to the full council for Monday, but then you stated that you wouldn't be back till August, so we need to push it back last meeting.
I'm sorry, who said what?
You stated that you wanted to push the workshop back because you were going on vacation.
Right, we were going to try to have it on Monday, but we couldn't do it because we didn't have the people to contact to get them here. So that's why I wanted to push it back.
Which people to contact?
The State Water Resources Board, the Army Corps of Engineers, and Fish and Wildlife. The three numbers that you got from Anita, or not from Anita, Mariana, or Marina, that you gave me via email a couple weeks ago.
Right, and had that been scheduled, they could have ensured that that took place.
Right, but that was 2 weeks' notice for those folks, and they don't have time. They're looking to schedule in August.
Are you, I mean, because I'm confused, did you speak with them and know something different? Because that's...
No, there's nothing different than what you and I have spoken about. You gave me the numbers, I contacted them, they're available in August.
Okay, and that's exactly, I'm confused, you're confusing me because that's exactly what I thought we were, and now we're back to that. So maybe in August, that's where we're gonna have this. What would you like me to do in the meantime? Because you asked me about a meeting at Upper Lake, and you asked me some other questions. So which one should I do first?
Whatever one you want.
Okay, because let's see. So the Upper Lake meeting, we met, I want to say 2 weeks ago, with the Upper Lake Tribal Council, who the meeting wasn't necessarily just about this. They did ask about it, so they were apprised about, because they had actually heard concerns about it, especially in regards to the meetings that we've been having here at Worth. And so you mentioned that they were going to be a partner, and I'm confused because the leadership knew nothing about being a partner or sponsoring the project.
A point of clarification, sir. I requested that, and I stated that people were interested. No one spoke to the council. Marina said she was going to speak to you about it in that meeting.
Well, them being the sponsor, because the
About
Water Resources
partnering-
Department.
About partnering with them.
Oh, I see. Okay. So anyhow, the discussion that took place, they basically gave them a synopsis of what was taking place. They also had other questions about the Middle Creek Restoration Project over in Rodman Slough area. And so they actually took a tour on it, to look at the situation as well Thursday. I'm not sure how that went because I wasn't available during that, but I know that they're working on that, and I'm pretty sure they should have an update. I don't have one for their meeting after hours because it was a couple days after. Let's see. Let me see what we have here. You mentioned that they could cover the full situation, so I'm hoping too, if there's a reimbursement situation that Mr. Renster brought up, we could possibly even work through getting Blue Ribbon Committee funding for as well, so that way it kind of takes care of it and could possibly happen as well.
Supervisor
I just-
Kendall, do you think it would be in the community, both this community and the county's best and the tribe's best interest to merge the Middle Creek with the Upper Lake Levee project, or to keep them separate?
Which, the Upper Lake what? Sorry.
Levee or the Middle Creek, your Blue Ribbon Committee Middle Creek project?
The Blue Ribbon Committee has to do with the full lake, the habitat for the lake, or the recovery for the lake. Middle Creek Restoration is the Army Corps project that's going to take down the levees over by Robin Slough. Middle Creek Diversion is what you're speaking of. You call it the levee project, but it's called the Middle Creek Diversion. And that's due to the sediment and all of the brush vegetation that's grown that's damaging the levees, of course, in that area as well. And so, are you saying to merge? I'm not sure if they can merge those for whatever reason.
I'm not saying anything, I'm asking your opinion, and I refer to it as the Upper Lake Levee Project because that's what the community refers to it as, but we do know it's a Middle Creek diversion, and in any formal letter, that's what we called it.
All right. So either way, it's the same thing. So I mean, what you're asking an opinion of what?
Do you believe it's in the best interest of the county, the community of Upper Lake, and the tribe that we merge the two projects or keep them separate?
It would be, I mean, it would be ideal to, but there's probably not a way because they're so different and they're different.
Thank you.
So it's key to go the way we're going with NRCS and partnering with, I know that the county's looking into some consultants. I know that, I'm not sure if that's what they talked about with you at the meeting that was held with Marina, yourself, and NRCS. But I know that they're working on trying to, get numbers and whatnot so this can move forward.
No, Marina was going to report back from the meeting that you had and that she and or Mr. De Leon attended. And Jim, have you heard anything?
No, Marina has not contacted.
To report on what exactly? That meeting? Because
She said she was going to inquire about the tribe's interest in partnering.
Yes, that was my understanding of the meeting we had, I think it was last week or the week before. The task, the item that needed to be completed after our last meeting was a decision and determination of who the sponsor was going to be. So that sponsor could then write the formal letter to NRCS requesting assistance under the WRTH program. Because that's the next step we need to have happen. We need the sponsor to formally request assistance from NRCS under the WRTH program.
The sponsor has to come up with a funding source, correct? Through a fee or taxation?
They have to have the ability to do that, to cover any expenses that are needed by the project, but that turn out to not be eligible for reimbursement by NRCS.
And there is on all of our taxes, a levy line item. So that would be if we had to, where an increase would have to take place. So,
I mean, some counties will just take it out of the general fund because they anticipate that will be none.
right.
Just have to have that ability, otherwise it disqualifies them from being a sponsor under the NRCS WFPO program.
Correct. So Supervisor Crandall, what we're trying to find out is who the sponsor is going to be and when that letter can be written. And is the tribe going to partner with the county? And Marina had said she would have an answer after that meeting. And so that's what I'm inquiring about, and that's what Jim heard also. So until that happens, we're at a standstill because we need that letter to move forward.
Yes, so just to be clear, for the NRCS program, there needs to be just one sponsor. And NRCS will conduct all business and all official correspondence with that sponsor. Now, if the sponsor chooses to have a separate, memorandum of understanding, contract something else with another entity, perhaps the tribe, that is the sponsor's discretion, they can do it. But NRCS will still treat the sponsor as a sponsor and not split that responsibility.
two things. I'm not sure if you said that the sponsor needs to be able to accumulate some sort of tax or eminent domain. I'm not sure if the tribe obtains that authority, autonomy. Tony, do you know if the Mental obtains that authority to provide eminent domain?
To be honest, I don't know, you know, I wasn't in that meeting that you had with our council. I don't know that we have that ability.
I think it would be the county, and I think that's why in the beginning, I think you stated that, Julia, that the county, Marina had stated that the county was willing to be the sponsor.
Correct.
And that they would, so you already kind of answered your own question. The only thing what they were looking at was basically to see if they would partner with them, which the gentleman, Mr. Reinstra, said basically that an MOU can be done after the fact. And I think they met, well, I know they met after we met the Thursday after, so I haven't had the report back from that either. They didn't answer that day. They wanted to go out and meet with them on Middle Creek. And so that's taking place. I'm awaiting that myself.
So do you think that we might have that result prior to the next town hall meeting?
I think so, yes.
Great.
I think even sooner, hopefully, just awaiting.
And then who will notify the town hall about that decision or notification or?
Either them or myself,
Okay, great.
basically. And I mean, I just want to make sure, because I mean, there's references that I want to make sure that you all are doing, what you need to. I don't want to be too involved or pushing or inclined or controlling the meeting so much, so.
I don't think anyone's thinking that, Supervisor.
No, it's been stated, so I just want to make sure that
So
we're doing this.
it sounds like you will let us know, or they will let us know, and I assume that will be me, since I'm the one that's the.
All in light of the full council, there's, that's what the council was made for, not one specific person.
I'm Thomas Aceves. I just had a question about why don't we set up the workshop too, so we can start getting into that.
That is in the works as we speak, and hopefully it'll be in
Okay.
August, but without having the ability to communicate with the right people, that I've already spoken with Fish and Wildlife. I'm waiting for the return response from the Army Corps of Engineers. Fish and Wildlife will be there, whatever the date is. So that's what I'm undertaking currently as we speak.
Julie, what is the funding source to cover that?
The workshop, there wouldn't be a funding source. It's just it's a meeting, unless we have to pay for this room. There's no cost. Oh, that's the funding from NCRS. Did anyone else have any questions? Because we've taken our full 15 minutes and I want. Can you state your name?
Sure, Elizabeth Larson. I just had a quick question. I've heard about NRCS being active in the county for some time. Have they ever done a project of this magnitude in Lake County?
Oh, in Lake County.
Hello, Julia.
Yeah.
When you ask for a question, it would be good if you repeated the question before you answered it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Elizabeth asked if NCRS has ever done a project at this capacity in Lake County. I know Jim can address the fact they have done projects like this all over the country at this level but I don't know about Lake County. Jim, do you know, or Aaron, do you know?
I do not. As far as I know, there has not been a project of this magnitude in the last 10 years. In Lake County, projects of this type are completed, and reimbursed by NRCS routine.
I have a question.
Yes, go.
Hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, Homestead Gold Mine, when it was put in, went through a project, kind of like what we did with levees and stuff, that was magnified. It went into 3 different counties. So they had a big project like this in Lake County, when they built the gold mine.
So Kevin says when they built the gold mine that covers 3 counties, they had a big project like this.
I worked there.
Because he worked there.
What year was that?
I went to work with them in '84,
In 1984, so that's, I guess, the last time.
and I went to construction in '85.
84, 85.
And they started producing 84 into 85, yeah.
Thank you, Aaron and Jim and Supervisor Crandall. If there aren't any more questions, I think one more. Yes, John.
When I first heard that the county had gotten some money to study.
John, you want to come up to the speaker? I just want to make sure they hear you.
When I first heard that the county had gotten some money to study the levees, I wrote down everything I had learned over the last 10 years of observing everything. And I've sent this to the county, I've sent some to Supervisor Crandall and so forth, and so it's a history. And I've got about a few copies here.
So for the minutes, John has provided a Clover Creek flood control historical document that he created,
You want to the recorder?
which will go into the minutes.
Julia, can John provide an electronic copy of that?
I can email it to anyone who wants.
I can scan it and send it to the whole council and Supervisor Crandall and Jim and Aaron.
Well, John perhaps has created the document electronically and it's ready to be sent, as just as an email.
Yes, I've got it on my desktop.
Super.
You just tell me where to send it.
And I would like that, if you could send that to the word.chairman at Gmail, that would be good.
Tim, can you repeat that because John didn't get the address?
Okay, it's WRTH.chairman@gmail.com.
WRTH chairman
Chairman.
.chairman@gmail.com. Bobby, you want to make it short because we're just.
Yes.
You want to state your name?
Bob Partita, I ordered that project we're talking about. So more or less, there's no funding right now for this project, and there won't be any removal of vegetation for what, a year or two? Does anybody know?
So that's a good question, and I don't think that the question is, Bobby's asking, so right now there's no funding for this project, and does anyone know when that funding might take place, a year or two from now? I'd like to say there was funding for the project to create the engineer that John was talking about to study the situation where they told us that the levee can't hold a 100-year storm, and they're looking at how to fix the levee and that kind of thing. But for this actual repair of the, and removal of vegetation and gravel, that's why NRCS is here, because they can provide reimbursement grants for that. So the county would have to pay for it out of the general fund or wherever to be able to front the costs that would be reimbursed. Can you state your name?
Jennifer Richardson.
Hey, Jennifer.
And it was my understanding when you were first taxed for the levy, that amount of money was from the people who were going to be put into an account that was standalone and was not in the general fund.
So Jennifer's comment was she understood it when this happened that there would be a standalone account for the levy from this tax that would not go into the general fund. And EJ, can you respond? Do you know the answer to that?
Again, those are like the things that we can talk about, like in the workshop. They were like going to answer some of that the day that they presented, even before, and they were told to stop. So
I think, Jennifer, from my experience, I requested all the information for everybody, and there is a budget, and it is just for the levy, and it's $325,000 from what
where would that be at?
That's from the data that I gave to you and Tim at the last meeting, and the data that I gathered again from the data stick. Remember, the files expired.
Right, I understand that.
And the budget is on that.
That wasn't related to me by Water Resources, but I know that they said that they're working on the currently right now a consultant to do the work needed so that way we could request the funding.
No, Jennifer's comment is about the levy tax fee that's supposed to be a standalone fee and not mixed to the general fund. And in the budget that was presented in that data that I reviewed, that
And the flood zone 8 benefit zone?
yes, I believe that's the title. I don't recall what the title is. I just recall the budget and
Okay.
approximately $25,000. So from what data, historical data we've been given, that does exist, Jennifer. Just from me looking at it, it appears.
Your
on
perception, and what we should do is make sure we have that so that everyone can inspect all of this information we're asking for. So I'm writing this down so we can have it, because everyone deserves to know this, and we need to have like a baseline so we know when this is gonna take place. Because what it looks like, and what you provided with NRCS is that if we get things rolling the way it should, NRCS could help us with that within the year if possible.
Correct. And,
Right.
and the town hall has the data from before, and I just handed it to them again. We've got the data. I didn't print it all out because I don't have the capacity to do that. Maybe we could print it out for the next meeting or whatever you'd like, Supervisor Kendall.
July meeting is what you're saying? So
Yeah.
print it out then, and then print it out also for the August, or are you gonna be present at the July meeting?
I will not be here until I will be out. But I'm happy to print it out and give it to whoever. And the town, as I said, the town hall has it too. So
Yeah.
does the county. So whoever you'd like to have print out.
Well, I mean, again, like, not to beat a dead horse, but if we would have had the Monday meeting, everyone would have it right now as well. So, I mean, what I'll do is I'll just make sure they print it for us. So you can have it for the next meeting, and that way print it again so we can have it for the August meeting. We need everybody to have what they need so that we can finally just move forward.
Correct.
Right. And we need, and I'm glad that Jim and Aaron came because it helps. I figured that they would, explain exactly what you're explaining so that way, we can support, what you've been bringing to us and the work you've been putting into it. So that's when they called me on by so.
So my understanding is that our next step is that someone needs to write that letter, and it sounds like you're gonna let us know, the whole town council, when you know, so that we can get that letter written out.
Want to know what about the partnership?
Yes, we were, that's how we left it with the meeting of Jim and Marina, and she was to get back to us.
So Jim, real quick, if the county sponsors, then they don't really need to, I mean, is it important that you know that they made an MOU or agreement, or can they do that after?
They do that after.
Right, so the sponsor can take place as soon as I don't know why the sponsorships hinged upon meeting with the tribe, because it was already stated that they would sponsor the project.
Well, that's actually news to me. After the meeting we had a week or two ago, it was unknown whether the county was going to be the sponsor or whether the tribe was going to be the sponsor. And Marina was going to find out about that and then get back to me. And then I would help whoever get the letter together formally requesting assistance.
Okay. Because
That's really, yeah. What I'm hearing now, it's sounding like the Lake County Department of Public Works is ready and perhaps, and needs to be committed to being the sponsor for this project.
And that's my understanding also.
Okay. Well, I can offer to reach out to Marina tomorrow during business hours and try to move this forward.
That would be fantastic. Is that okay with you, Supervisor Crandall?
I'm confused at why you're asking if it's okay with me. We need to.
So it may be that, sometimes, depending on the relationship between the county board of supervisors and their Department of Public Works, there may need to be board action.
Correct.
Providing authority to the the director of public works or whoever the person is that is going to sign the letter requesting assistance.
That's my understanding also.
But that person that signs the letter has to have the authority to sign that letter. Now, if there's, already, some previous board action that gives the county, Department of Public Works director or whoever the person is, to sign the letter, then that's okay. But oftentimes I find that, the county board of supervisors needs to, take an action at a meeting to authorize that. It varies from county to county.
So that's why I'm asking you if it's okay with you.
Well, I don't give sole discretion to department heads, they would have to bring it to us. And in an email from you, you stated that Marina said that they were gonna sponsor it, and so they would need to bring it to us.
Okay, my hope is that it doesn't stay in a spiral right here, that it sounds like Jim's gonna reach out to Marina and see if we can't keep it moving forward.
Right. So it doesn't need I don't have oversight over, unless I'm the full board. So like when you ask me if it's okay with me, I can't tell Marina or Scott no, it'd be illegal.
I don't think anyone's saying that you can unilaterally work for the board of supervisors, Supervisor Crandall, I certainly am not. So what we're trying to do is move this forward.
I'm really confused at your true intent. No, really,
So what we're trying to do is move this forward. We're trying to understand whether there's going to be a partnership or not, according to Marina at our last meeting, and Jim heard the same thing. If Jim is saying that there doesn't have to be a partnership before this letter goes out, we're just trying to understand if it's going to the board for approval. Is it already been approved? Is Marina or Mr. David gonna write the letter? I mean, how is this gonna work?
So you before this, you just basically stated that we were waiting for Marina to get back to you. You also told me in an email that she was going to sponsor it, which they were meeting with the tribe as well. Jim just mentioned as well that it doesn't require them to have a partnership with the tribe in order to do it. So basically, we were waiting for them to bring it to us. And so when you stated you needed to hear from them first so you could write a letter, you all can do a letter right now urging them to be the sponsor or whatever it is you desire. You don't have to wait to write that letter. You can make action right now. So then that way, it gets the attention. You came to the board of supervisors meeting and read the letters. It's on their radar. So I mean, that's all we're waiting on is for them to bring it to us to do the sponsorship. Is what you're saying, right?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion then that this board write a letter requesting urgency in moving forward with the sponsorship of the Middle Creek Diversion, aka Upper Lake Levee, restoration maybe project.
I'm not sure I understand the accurate name that we're calling the levee project. Can we have clarification?
Well, the public calls it the Upper Lake Levee project.
What will the board of supervisors
The
call it?
Middle Creek Diversion project, which is why I use both names.
Why don't we settle on what?
Middle Creek flows and the Middle Creek flood damage and ecosystem restoration project. Middle Creek flood damage and ecosystem restoration project. It's written in the chat right here. Betsy wrote it up.
Thank you, Beth.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion on the floor to compose that letter.
Can you restate the motion so I understand it?
Sure. The
Who is the
motion is,
sponsor? You never said who the sponsor was.
there isn't a sponsor in the motion. So the motion is that this board write a letter to the Board of Supervisors of Lake County requesting that they move forward with sponsorship that I assuming
There we
is,
go.
is the Department of Water Resources, but it
That would
could
be
be.
the County Department of Public Works.
It could be the Department of Public Works, exactly. I don't think it's up to us to determine who that is, it's up to the county, right? So sponsorship, I'm not including in my motion.
You could just put the county as sponsorship.
Exactly, that's what my motion was. To move forward with sponsorship of this, what's in the chat that I never saw, whatever Supervisor Crandall just said, and maybe it's in the minutes, the something restoration project, so that we can get activity going with NCRS or NRSC.
I'll second the motion.
And the motion has been, second, all in favor?
Aye.
And I.
I would make a motion myself. I'd like to write the letter.
You want to, you're gonna write the letter?
I would like to, I'm.
Yeah, go for it.
That will, we will gladly appreciate that.
Yes, please.
Is it Tim?
Yeah.
So is there a second to the motion?
We did.
Okay, I didn't hear it, so.
Oh, for you to write the
Okay.
letter. that'd be
I'll second
specific.
it.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
So basically, I'll sort of, I'm feeling like writing letters, but I don't necessarily know if I have all the information to put in it, so I would need to, you know, make sure I got all the I's dotted and the T's crossed.
Happy to help, Tim.
Okay.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. You're welcome.
All right, so
All
we raise the
those
motion.
Yeah.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
It's been passed.
Thank you, and thank you, everybody, audience and our speakers, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda they happen to be our street lights. I don't know if there's anything.
I have something I can say.
Okay. Tim?
I basically the last email I got on the 31st of May from Stephen Phillips, who's part of the special district. Goodbye, Jim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron, thank you, Aaron. Yep, thank you. Okay, so I'm going to read part of this email at least. It says, "Hi Bernie," because it was addressed to Bernie Butcher and with myself and some other Upper Lake people, residents. It says, "Special District is aware of the street light situation in Upper Lake and are working on it. This is not just as simple as replacing the light bulb, and some of the electric components have fried. And we are troubleshooting the system, trying to determine why this happened. For clarity purposes and to avoid any misunderstandings, this project needs only one point of contact from special districts and only one from the Upper Lake Woods Group. Moving forward, all communications shall be between these two contacts. Special districts, Scott Carter, who's the administrator, and myself as the chairman of the Woods Group. So basically, as of the end of May, they're working on getting things in order, so that's all I know at this point.
And we took note that our clock is an hour behind, so.
Oh, really? We might mention that to Bernie.
Who was it that did the clock last time? Wasn't it
Bernie.
Public Works? It was Public Works.
Bernie provided the equipment and the labor, I believe, to repair the clock.
Well, who did he commission to?
That part, I don't know.
So we'll need to find out.
I can ask him.
I think that he did it, I was told by I know the chef over there, so I think they did it.
Because I saw a drip around it.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I would have to reach out to the chef and ask him, find that out, but, I had a question, this is Thomas Esteves, on Tim, again in the email, there was no ETA or goal set on the solution, it's just a work in progress at this point.
It was basically just, they're working on it, and I'm the only one they want to hear from.
So, Council is also working on this issue, and there's a representative from there today, and maybe it would be good to hear if they know anything different.
Certainly.
On the street lights, Byron, do you know anything?
I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
So
Start
I
clock.
can just, yesterday at the meeting, they had it on the agenda that it's an electrical panel issue.
Yeah, can she come up to the microphone?
I'll just stop, okay? I'm Tammy Alexey, and on the agenda yesterday for Upper Lake Community Council, they said electrical panel issue.
So if you didn't hear that, that's Tammy, and she had the agenda from the Upper Lake Community Council, and it said it's the panel.
Yeah.
Tim, when are we gonna follow up with them again? Or since you're the liaison, are you gonna do it?
Well, I can send them a hurry up, or I can just go in and visit them as well. So hopefully, maybe next week or so. So we'll definitely we'll have more information by next month. So.
Yeah, I would say maybe in 2 weeks.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can find out some information and perhaps email it to anybody that wants to know. I mean, I can send it out generally or just to the council.
You just want to find out if maybe it's a supply issue, maybe they can't get the components, so some clarification.
When Scott Harder was at our last meeting, I basically said to him that we would like to be in the loop to whatever is going on, and he agreed that that was appropriate. And, so I don't specifically want to badger him, but I suppose I can, just make a friendly inquiry. Just if there's asking him if there's any information that he would like to pass along to the Upper Lake community.
Kim, just send an email like Monday and Friday, or even Monday, Wednesday and Friday. It's not bad. I mean, he'll answer. That's all.
Yeah, no, I understand that, but it's like that. I don't want to send days sort of thing. Hey, what's going on? What's going on? That's all I got.
Thanks, Jim. I reached out to our North Shore Fire Department chief, left a message, and sent a message via his wife that she said she'd give to him, and I apologize. He's not here, and I don't know what that says about continuity.
He's calling me right now.
Anyway,
Yeah, 1 second, chief.
He's calling him.
Oh, yay, okay. Thank you, Mike.
The chief is talking to EJ.
I take back what I said.
That's appropriate.
There's a fire at the Escaton Apartments in Clear Lake Oaks.
Oh, there's a fire.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, EJ. I didn't think he would.
Thank you, Betsy. That was exactly what he was just calling me about. Was
Okay, okay.
there's a Clear Lake Oaks fire, so he's not able to be here.
Well, and right now we're in, like high fire alert, and you've seen that there've been a number of grass fires around, and I think it really behooves each one of us as property owners to get in the early morning and get that grass down, because it's, I've been kind of working away on my own, but, and so now we've got, go ahead,
I did hear his most recent one at the last meeting that I was at with him, and they said that the fuel, not from him, but from Becky, who's also on for the lab, and they had said the fuels crew, because they have a lot of people working already on the fuels crew to help take down some of the vegetation and whatnot. So I know that at the meetings that I went to, they had stated that was at least moving forward.
Okay. Yeah, because often it's the seniors that are having problems financially to get people to come in and do the weed eating and so forth. So I'm kind of working with the people that I know that can get that done. Julia?
Julia Kerr. The people that live under the bridge where fires started last year, I don't know if it's the same people, but there's people under the bridge living there again on the Highway 20 bridge, and they're down there lighting fires. They moved?
They're out.
Oh, great.
About a week ago.
They moved a week ago. Never mind.
Thankfully, they did.
That's grateful about
They're
that.
probably.
As soon as, if someone does again, let's move quick, because we can get them evicted through the Caltrans. And, remember Margaret's the one that got it done. Remember last time we had that problem?
Yeah, and what I forgot to say about the vegetation modification is on the levee, is that, July 5th, they're going to begin mowing. So that will curtail some of that homeless under bridges, fire, camping issues.
So we will put Chief on for next agenda.
barring fire intrusions.
And I also had put down drought, because obviously we are in a drought, we're never gonna get out of the drought, and I really am a conservationist when it comes to water. Ray?
Right, every time I call the county about mowing, I could probably go back 3 years. Mowers are broken. Every time. The mowers are down. Well, finally they come out to pick it, there was 4, 5 guys. There was quite a few guys from the county with weed eaters to cut some of the brush down. But it seems like every year you call them and you tell them, hey, we need some on this and some here. She comes back and says, the mowers are broken.
So I don't know if you heard that, but that was Ray out on
Oh,
the relay.
yeah.
And he said that every time they call for weed abatement, that they call back and say the mowers are broken. But somebody was out there with weed whackers doing some of the abatement.
They did anyway.
When is that?
Anyway,
So they're doing it now.
Well,
With weed
with weed eaters instead of mowers.
Oh, okay.
But they still gotta get up on the levee banks and get all that crap taken off there.
The levee banks still need the work done.
I'm just writing it down.
Okay, so I guess, we'll have the chief in, and he can kind of explain fire preparedness. And I think we all know, defensible areas to keep down and under control. So whether you live in a large area or not, it's an encouraging participation on the parts of our neighbors. That's kind of neat. And I just brought some little, it's like a helpful hint about water, and my source said that a household can use up to 82 gallons of water per day. And to flush the toilet, it takes 3.5 gallons per flush. Shower, 25 gallons per 5-minute shower. That tub bath takes 3 to 6 gallons per day. Dishwashers, 4 to 6 gallons a day. Brushing teeth, it's more than a gallon. Washing hands, 2 gallons. And some of the information was to make sure you don't have any active leaks, because they can just go through water quite quickly. So it's just, things that we do, we take for granted that you turn on the faucet, it's going to be there, but we really, each one need to independently conserve all that we can. I go as far as catch water, and then I use it on my plants, and my lawn is dormant, it's not going to be green, and you do a large capacity wash in your dishwasher or your washing machine. So just some of the things that we can do, and we've got to start. We've got to continue, because it's not going to go away. Anyone have announcements? Anything they'd like to share? Byron, did you want to tell us about the town council? Byron.
What specifically?
Yeah, what about the fall festival?
The fall festival will be on the 8th of October, in conjunction with the high school, when they have the parade, the homecoming parade. The vendors will be able to start setting up at 7 in the morning, and their vehicles have to be off the street by 9, and then they're going to run it up to 4 o'clock. We're going to have a bounce house, I believe, set up in there for the kids, because they seem to like that. really well. We've already got a lot of vendors that are calling, wanting to know when we're getting ready to rock and roll. And they have to change our format just slightly from what we were using for the vendor forums. So as soon as Katie has those done, she's gonna pass them on to me. And I've got the whole list that we had for the last year. And I'm gonna fire out all those, and then I've got some lists that go back a couple of years before that some of those people might jump in. And it's hard to tell, you know, because when you're out there always, well, a lot of the mail makes it back. Because a lot of people give you a house address, and their mail isn't delivered to a house.
It's not like it used to
That
be.
really tightens it up for us, so, but that's the way I've been trying to do it. And if anybody calls me on the phone, I make sure I give all the information that they've got and fire it back. And I don't know that we're up to speed on the website with Commercial Business Association. They're trying to upgrade it, and I don't think it's up to date quite. So the form won't be exactly right.
What's the website address?
What's that?
What's the website address?
It's North Shore Business Association, or NSBA. I think it's .org, but I'm not sure.
It'll really generate a lot of, excitement and activity with the combination of the homecoming parades.
Yeah.
Because all the classes generate their own floats, and then, many others come on, so it's good.
Yeah, and they're looking to try to have a couple other things going at some point. They want to try to use the park and have a thing where, just people just can come out and sell their goods, They don't have to worry about having tables and stuff. If we get the park and then we put something out there where we're making food and stuff like that, and have a bunch of people come out and see if they want to buy anything. And they're probably looking at August, something like that. And see if we can do that. And I put my property up for one. If I can get my brother-in-law to work with me, we're gonna have a big one of that big tree there, on Liberty Ranch. We've done it before, it's worked out really well, and, people enjoy themselves, so we want, if I can, because he's one hell of a cook. I mean, he's good. And have people bring popular stuff in and stuff, and you just have a good time and shoot the bull. And that's what we're going to try to do.
Mayor, I was just told last night, and I didn't realize it, that the Upper Lake Community Council does have its own Facebook page. I didn't even know that.
That's good to know.
So
Probably posting.
they do post things out there. I just went to look at it last time, and they are doing more and more posting on it, so.
So that's different than what he's doing? There's two different.
No, it's the same.
I was gonna say.
It's the same, but I just found out they actually have a Facebook page
It
last
might-
night.
I'd like to entertain the council the idea of getting an update from the Upper Lake Community Council on a regular basis on the agenda, and also to include the minutes on the agenda if that's possible.
The minutes on the agenda?
Sharon Stillwell is the one that's been working on that. Pretty heavily.
So what you can do with the minutes, you're talking about the minutes for your meeting, right, for the Worth meeting?
I'm talking about agenda items on the agenda. Typically, minutes are on the agenda. And
Right.
I'm also requesting that.
like the.
Yeah, I was just trying, because Tim said he didn't hear that or something like that, so I was just trying to say, yeah, help, that way you all can just pass them, and everyone, if they want to make changes, you can too. We can post those on your, also the county website has West Region Town Hall, and then that way you can post your minutes and agendas there. And Sam from PEG TV is trying to help with posting them to YouTube so that you can refer to them. So we're working on that now, so.
Oh, that's great. And then I was also.
So you're saying you would, Julia, you wanted to have a standing item of approving the minutes?
Correct. And,
Okay.
And also an update from the Upper Lake Community Council.
Yes, and hopefully, because Linda has taken over the position of records keeper, we'll have minutes to approve.
we
Thank
did
you for
tonight.
doing, thank you for taking that job on. That, I know it's a big job.
I'm gonna make sure it's okay. For you guys to merge? We can merge them. Yeah. Any other announcements? I just wanted to share something. I'm on the Unified School District Board, and last night I made a request for school safety to be taken really, considered strongly, and urged that we need to get our SRO, whether the sheriff's department can't help us, but we're looking at probation. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to look into some sort of private company. But I really feel like we need to protect our little ones, and we've seen these things that have been happening throughout the states, and we really need to protect our little ones. So anyway.
Claudine, are you speaking into the microphone?
No,
What's that SRO mean?
it's a school resource officer.
Oh, do you guys not have one at this point?
No, we do not.
Does the high school or middle school or the elementary school have a plan of action in case of an
Yes, we do. We have that. But I felt that the presence of an SRO would really serve a multitude of, solve problems, even just with the relationship between our students and law enforcement.
Have you reached out? Do we know what the Lake County Sheriff's Department's action plan would be in case there's an intruder or?
Yeah, we know that, but they cannot supply.
Hopefully it's better than what
Right,
they did in
because their
Texas.
numbers are down, but we're looking
Which was a complete-
hopefully to probation to provide that, and if not, we're gonna go beyond that, like I said, to private, because I think 3 other schools, campuses have SROs. Well, what they have is the Lakeport Police, provides for Lakeport School District. And then I think it was the sheriff's in another district, but we have nobody right now. And we are an open campus. That's another issue, whether or not to try to contain everything. And we're hoping that we've got to discuss that. In fact, we're going to have a workshop coming up in September to discuss all those things. But I think, the time is right now to start looking, and the school begins again in August, the 10th. So we've got to be proactive.
Thank you for doing that.
And another discussion about that situation in Uvalde was, and I've listened to comments when people talk about what could improve the situation as counselors on the campus, dealing with kids. Do we have enough counselors in the high school system?
We're staffed very well. I'm really quite confident, and I feel proud of the way Upper Lake Unified School District has reached out in those areas of having, we have the gaggle, which is over the computer so that families can go on with if they have any, family crisis issues, or if students feel overwhelmed or overcome. So I'm glad that that's available too.
I'm sorry, it's not a school meeting, but I have some questions. How's the bullying issue in that school? How's it tolerated? Is it person?
I feel very confident that, in fact, I was talking to a friend, and our incidents of suspension and expulsions have gone way down. And I think that restorative justice is the application that we use, and that gets all your disciplines together and, can provide whatever that student might need. So that's a real step forward, and not just casting off or suspending. What does that do? They're out of school, and we want them to be in school. And our graduation numbers have increased, and I'm extremely proud of the Clover Valley High, which at many years did not produce graduations. And we have 5 or more each year now. We have a lot of staff that are very energetic, very pro students, and it's exciting to see what's ongoing. And of course, all our new facilities, we will be having an open house probably into September with the new facilities that are ongoing. So we've got a great conditioning room now, they're calling it, and then the CTE unit, and they're working quite quickly on that. So hopefully we'll be able to utilize them as the school year begins. Any other announcements or comments or requests for the agenda?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Kevin, when you say you're gonna have a workshop on that, instead of having a workshop on that, why don't you bring it to your here? And-
That's what the workshop is.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that workshop will be, at the school facility.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah. But I would certainly bring back all the information I know, but I just feel like we can't wait. We can't look at, there have not been any occurrences. We don't know that. And unfortunately, with the, I don't want to be like profiling, but we have people that are not, mentally sound in this area. So we don't know what could spark.
Have you guys requested for Brian or the fire patrol to do patrols?
We have it, but that's good, it's something that they might be able to do.
We do it, right? We've done it a couple of times, requested patrols in our neighborhoods, because we're having some problems, and they'll come through on our different shifts and do a patrol through the neighborhood. And I know that you could ask Brian to do that with you guys.
So sometimes just that presence is a
Right.
strong
Car coming through
message.
is a big deal.
Good, well, thank you. Well, I appreciate all of you that have shown up tonight.
I don't know what terms everybody has here, and I had asked on the email and got no answers, and I know the public's interested too.
I can help with that.
Huh?
I can help with that.
Thank you.
Basically, the information is monitored by Carolyn Purdy. And she sent one list, and it's not quite in sync with our bylaws, so I was going to get back to her when we finalized our membership, which you'll get, et cetera. And so, because she has a slightly different layout of the distribution between Upper Lake and East and Blue Lakes, et cetera, then I think we specifically have according to our bylaws. So perhaps the next week or so, I will communicate with her and sort of straighten all that out, and then I can send that information to the council members.
Thank you, Tim, very much.
Certainly.
I just want to say a really good thing. Pitney Lane started Monday, private trucking companies trimming trees. We have our street lined with trees that they're trimming all on both sides right now. And there's piles of branches.
Just waiting to be shipped.
That they're gonna probably bring a private shipper company to do that. But they're getting our road.
I think it's because of PG&E, because they red tagged a bunch of trees.
They red tag. And, years back when we had our big fires here and we got evacuated, they said Pitney Lane, if a fire passed Pitney, the town was going to hit. So I'm sure they're really hitting Pitney Lane really hard right now. So it's a good thing to see them. It's a private company.
Well, they do contract.
Yeah. It's really nice to see them.
You have any of those loose dog issues out there?
No, they moved.
They moved, the house is
So
vacant.
if I go riding out there to the,
EJ, the house is
I believe EJ has a comment.
Yeah, no, as, Tim, I have if I can share the screen real quick, I can show you, the layout,
As the county understands it at this point.
Right, let me just grab it real quick. Oh, wait. Oh, there it is. I found it. Can you see? Can you see?
No, it's not.
Is my screen sharing?
I do see screen sharing, but it's black.
Okay, can you see yet?
Yes.
Okay, and so, I'll try to zoom the best I can. So it says, Western Region Town Hall Public Member at Large, Thomas Esteves, 1/1/2023. 10/1/2022, but we just reappointed you. Linda's 1/1/2023, Claudine's 1/1/2023. The vacant spot was filled by Julia, and then Dave, 1/1/2024. If for whatever reason they have one spot missing, and I had to apprise them of that because of the email that you sent to him last week. And so that's how we were able to reappoint Kate. So hers is,
Very good.
yeah, so Kate is on this with you, Tim, and Julius, I think. as well.
So basically, I will, like I say, I think it's not quite set up the way our bylaws are, and I will send that out as fast as I can to EJ so he will understand what I'm talking about.
Okay.
And also I will, like I say, I will contact Karen for review, but she's basically the keeper of the planning.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Anything else? I think we'll adjourn.
Second that.
Motion.
I second that.
All right. All in
Say
favor?
aye.
Thank you,
Aye.
everyone.